Вряд ли выносная.
Вот
Пас,
это
тачдаун.
Хантер Ренфро заносит тачдаун.
Клемсон
Выигрывает титул.
Да, выигрывает титул. Берет реванш за прошлый год. Какие лица, а сколько скорби.
Kalman regresa al backfield de John Watson. Pase. Touchdown. Touchdown. Clemson. Renfro. Por un segundo. De John Watson se lo puso el envío y parece que Dabo Swinney va a lograr el sueño.
Watson, touchdown! Hunter Renfro. Little man makes another enormous play. 1 second remaining. The slot receiver, former walk-on, in back-to-back championship games has made 2 touchdown receptions against Alabama.
Game before, but how would you describe what it's like to win it?
It's indescribable. I mean, you can't make it up, man. I mean, this is only God can do this. Take a guy like me from Pelham, go to Alabama, win a national championship, come to Clemson, and have a chance to win a national championship against the best team in the country up until the last second of this game, and to see my guys fight and just believe. I told them tonight, that the difference in the game was going to be love. It's been my word all year has been love, and I said tonight, we're going to win it because we love each other. We're going to love each other. I don't know how we're going to win it. I told them at the halftime, guys, we're going to win the game. I don't know how, but we're going to win it. And man, I mean, I'm just so thankful and blessed, and it just doesn't even seem real to me. I'm thankful to the good Lord, all our players. It's been an unbelievable 8 years, and this is for all of our teams because they're all a part of this. They all get a piece of this trophy. Our staff. But just the heart of these guys. Maybe now everybody will understand when I tell them Deshaun Watson's the best player in the country. He showed it again tonight on the biggest stage. But 8 years ago, my goal was to put Clemson back on the top. And tonight, that's a reality. And listen, I love the University of Alabama. I love the people there. Coach Saban's so gracious. The heart of their team. This will go down as one of the greatest of all time. There's no doubt about it. But it was our night, and it was our time. And this has been a process in the making for us. But hats off to my team, and I'm just so happy for the Clemson Nation. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I know Terry Don Phillips is sitting home. Terry Don, I'm not here without you, brother. Appreciate you. I love all the people who couldn't come here tonight because tickets are too much. They saw a heck of a game. They had a good seat at home, and I'm just thankful. And I know so many people were a part of this, and it's a blessing.
Okay, we're here today with Coach William Christopher Swinney, otherwise known as Dabo, to a lot of people that don't know that. Dabo has given us his time today after a national championship season at Clemson, and we appreciate it very much. Our last encounter with him was about I think in 2013, in April of 2013, he addressed this group, the Southern Textile Association. And this clip will be running Father's Day of 2017 at Hilton Head Island. We knew Coach would be involved in camps and his own family for Father's Day. So he was gracious enough to allot us some time to come over to Clemson today and kind of delve into what he has done, where he's been successful in developing a winning culture on the football field. And we think we can translate that over to our organizations which we've run. A quick synopsis, Coach Swinney was born November 20th, 1969. He shares that birthday with me, matter of fact, except I'm 10 years prior to that. Coach, you don't have anything to worry about. This is what textiles will do to you after 10 years. Not like there's no stress involved in coaching college football. But anyway, it's pretty neat. I give him a message every year telling him this is what he'll be in 10 years, so enjoy it. His overall record at Clemson is 89-28, 7-4 in bowl games, one national championship this past year, ACC titles in 2011, 12, 15, and 16. He was Bobby Dodd Coach of the Year in 2011, ACC Coach of the Year in 15, Home Depot Coach of the Year in 2015, Walter Camp 2015, and Associated Press College Coach of the Year in 2015, the Maxwell Coach of the Year in 2015, and one I'm sure he's very proud of, the Paul Bear Bryant Coach of the Year in 2015. Coach, as you know, our organization, we have about 500 members. We'll have about 300 at this conference for Father's Day in attendance this year. There'll be husband and wives both attending. So we're looking forward to the conference, but we appreciate your time today. You built a model program in college football since that other programs want to be like. You know, it's kind of funny, I've heard you say one time in one of your initial hiring meetings with the board that they were talking about Michigan and Georgia and Florida, and you said, you know, you kind of interrupted and let them know you want everybody to emulate us. And I think you've got the program to that point. But what we want to start with today is really about half of our membership's very familiar with your story. There'll be about half of the crowd that have not heard your story. We'd just like you to give us a little bit of the run-up of your high school and college years, what kind of led you into the profession, and ultimately to Clemson, if you would.
Okay. Well, first of all, good to be with everyone, and happy Father's Day. And happy Mother's Day, because every day's Mother's Day. And I'm glad y'all asked me to do this again, because I guess since 13 we've had a pretty good little run. So we need a little redo to keep that mojo going. So good to be with you guys. But you know, it's been an incredible journey for me. You know, I grew up in Pelham, Alabama. You know, when I was a small, really small town, still small town, but it was really small town when I was coming along, just south of Birmingham, south of Hoover, and you know, just grew up in a just simple family, and you know, had dreams just like most young kids growing up, and aspirations. I played 3 sports, and you know, my dream was to go to the University of Alabama, and Alabama didn't recruit me, and I was naive enough to think that they should have, and bold enough to want to go prove them why. So I kind of went off on my own path after high school, and you know, as the baby of 3 boys, to be able to be the first one to go off to college and graduate from college, that was an incredible opportunity experience for me. And you know, I went to school on Pell Grants and student loans. You know, that's why I always tell people, you know, we really got no excuse. You know, the opportunity is there. Now, it doesn't mean it's always going to be easy, but if you really want to get an education, you can do it. And I'm living proof of that. So just went and chased my dreams at Alabama, and
Which were some tough years for you personally.
Personally, grew up in a home that was kind of dysfunctional, if you will, and my father was an alcoholic, parents divorced, you know, had a very strained relationship with my dad for a few years there, and just difficult times. But you know, again, I'm a person of faith, and found the Lord when I was 16, and that really kind of gave me the hope that I needed to deal with things that in the present, and it always kind of gave me a belief in a better future, allowed me to believe beyond any circumstances that I was dealing with in the immediate, and just kind of always helped me have an attitude to just be thankful for whatever I had at the time and make the best of it. And so that's really what I did. But I went to Alabama and ended up lettering 3 years, earned a scholarship, and graduated. And when I finished graduation, I went to school to be a doctor. A lot of people don't know that, but I was going to be a pediatrician. I was a biology major, pre-med for 3 years, and I just kind of had this moment, because my whole life I was going to be my mama's doctor. I was going to be the doctor, and that's just what I wanted to do. And you know, after 3 years, I just realized I was doing good. I just realized I just didn't love it, and I just wasn't passionate about it. And the reality set in that, hey, I'm going to have to go to school for 10 more years, and I was doing it for the wrong reason, and so I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I just kind of sat down and did some soul searching and research, and I said, you know, all right, I'm going to switch to the business school. I'm going to get my degree in hospital administration, healthcare management, and I'm going to run the hospital. And so that was kind of the next thing. And, you know, just I always tell people, you know, you never know how things are going to work out. And so I've graduated. We won the national championship my senior year. That spring of '93, I'm doing my internship at DCH Hospital. And Coach Stallings offered me an opportunity to be a grad assistant. So I was a grad assistant coach. I said, I'll go do it. Never really thought about coaching. But literally the first week of being a GA and working toward my MBA, I knew that this is what I was called to do. And all of a sudden it was like an instant moment for me where I had this clarity of my life and just clear purpose of what I was created for. And it just kind of made everything that I had experienced in my life, it just made sense to me. And you know, God was preparing me to do exactly what I'm doing. And so was a GA for 3 years, and you know, when I got done with my master's, Coach Stallings hired me full time. So, you know, my journey was a little unique, especially in this business, because most of the time you have to move around a lot of places, and I was prepared to go. The doors kept opening for me. And so I went to Alabama when I was 18, and I ended up leaving when I was 31. And the last staff I was on, the head coach got fired, new coach came in, a guy named Dennis Franchione, didn't keep anybody. And so here I was, you know, right at 31. I was 31 and not sure what I was going to do. And next thing I know, one thing led to another. I'm out of coaching for a season. I thought it was going to be for a season. And one season turned into 2 seasons. But, you know, I always tell people it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it gave me a whole different perspective. I'd never done anything but coach. And it gave me a chance to get out and use my education. It gave me confidence that I could be successful doing something else. And I think there's a lot of coaches out there that sometimes have a little bit of a fear, because they think that's all they can do. Yeah, no safety net. And it kind of gave me that confidence of, you know what, I coach because it's what I love to do, not because it's what I have to do. And if, you know, because there's a lot of things you don't control, and it's a volatile business, especially when you're an assistant. I mean, you're at the mercy of the head coach. And so I did that, and when I got back into coaching spring of '03, I was certainly a better coach, had a different mindset, a different appreciation for the privilege of coaching. And so I came to Clemson in '03 and been here 14 seasons, getting ready to start my 15th season, and my 9th year as the head coach. So it's been an incredible, challenging and fulfilling journey all along the way.
Heard you had a little acclamation when you got off the plane at GSP. you kind of was wanting to see a sign that, Lord, am I doing the right thing?
Yeah, you know, that was the time in my life where I was very successful in what I was doing real estate wise. We were a company that built shopping centers all over the nation. And ironically, we had just built one in Anderson, South Carolina. And the previous February, it wasn't my project, but I had come up here for a week to kind of help work on it. And I'll never forget it. So February of '02, I drove over to Clemson for the first time ever. And I was late at night. I'm driving around. I pulled up the big Paul, and I remember calling my wife saying, "Hey, guess where I'm at? I'm at Death Valley." And Coach Bowden was out of town. He was gone. It was in February. And but I just kind of rode around the town and checked it out for the first time. I'd heard about Clemson all these years. And I actually stayed, but I was staying over in Anderson. And then a year later, I thought I was going back to Alabama. And that was a crazy situation, January of '03. And all of a sudden, I think I'm going to Alabama with Mike Price. Next thing I know, he switched directions. He hired Sparky Woods. And I was very disappointed. And then a few weeks later, Tommy Bowden calls me out of the blue and says, "Hey, you interested in getting back in coaching?" And so here I am, you know, I'm like, absolutely. But I was at a time in my life where I'd had a lot of success. And this was '01, '02, real estate was really good. I was making real money, and I'd never really made much money, and so I was walking away from a whole lot financially. All of our family was in Alabama. I'd never lived anywhere but Alabama, 33 years at this time, and same with my wife, and we had 2 little boys and another one on the way, and so it was like I was like the Antichrist, I'm loading up the grandkids, and we're going where? And we might as well have been moving to Wyoming, and so it was a big challenge in that regard, but I had total faith that this was the right move, and as you alluded to, so I flew up here to interview. And I'll never forget it because I got picked up at the airport by a guy named Carl who worked for Coach Bowden, and we ain't even hardly hopped up on the interstate, and I bet you we ain't been a mile or so down the road, and there was this big sign that said Pelham Road exit, and I'm like, well, son of a gun, and I didn't even know there was another Pelham, and so I kind of took that as, hey, you know what, this is good confirmation. I've always tried to. I think God winks at us all the time in life, and I think He puts signs out there, and that was some confirmation to me. And then it was the other part was I was like, okay, because the interview went good. I went back home, and we had just built a new home. We were 2 weeks away from moving in it, kind of our dream home, if you will. And I remember saying, okay, I know there's no way He can pay me what I'm making now. But if He could just pay me this right here, we can make it work. And His offer was $5,000 more than what that amount was. So it was like God was just checking all the boxes for me and kind of challenging me. And so then it was like, well, what are we going to do with this house? And, ironically, we sold that house in 2 days by owner to a family moving from Columbia, South Carolina to Birmingham, Alabama. So, it was I just had this total peace that this is where I was supposed to be. And we actually came up here, and as soon as we moved here, we bought a lot, and we started building the same house all over again. And it was a time where a lot of people were telling me, don't come. It was Coach Bowden's 5th year, and he was under a lot of duress. And I'm like, look, God's not bringing us here to fail. And I don't know why, but this is where we're going to be. And we built our house and just trusted Him. And I said, hey, if we get fired, I sold it once, I'll sell it again. I was like, but He's bringing us here, and we're coming here, and it's crazy. I remember I did a 3-year arm on that house. Not sure what, because I wasn't making as much money, and I wanted as much house I could with as little payment, interest only, 3-year arm, and I've been in that house going on 14 years. So
look where we are now.
It's unbelievable.
Well, great. That's very fascinating. Getting ready to get into the culture and leadership in just a second. I want a few quick hitters with you. Just favorite food.
Wow. Pizza. Love pizza. And chili.
Flavor ice cream.
Chocolate.
Candy sin. What is your candy?
Oh man, I love chocolate chip cookies. Anything sour.
Gummy bears.
Anything sour. Sour Patch.
Yeah, I remember getting some of those.
Oh yeah.
If you were coaching another sport outside of football, what would it be?
Basketball. Baseball and basketball. Either one. I coach baseball on the weekends, but I love basketball.
With the game on the line, a 5-foot putt or a free throw?
Free throw for me, for sure. Are you kidding?
Straight putt, coach. It's a straight.
Free throw for me. Ain't no doubt, man.
You get a lot of practice.
Yeah.
Bucket list. What's next for you? I know you've been to Wrigley. I know. Augusta National.
I'm getting to go to the Kentucky Derby this year.
Something you hadn't done.
I've never done the Kentucky Derby.
So that's got to be.
I'm going to get to do that. I've never done a Kentucky Derby. I've never done a Final Four.
Well, I hope Kat's getting to go with you.
Never done a Super Bowl. Yeah, Kath and I Tim Beret got us tickets to the Kentucky Derby this year, so we're going May 5th and 6th, going over on Friday and come back Saturday night after the Derby.
That's awesome.
I
want to get into culture and leadership a little bit with you. What impressed me most, the very first game, Georgia Tech rolls into town. I think they're your interim coach, Terry Don Phillips, has given you the job. I remember one poignant moment in that game, and I still look back on it today, and you probably don't, but it's just because it's your manner and your know-how. All the fans are wondering, we've hired a position coach, what's it going to be like? I wasn't one of those naysayers, by the way, on the internet back then, but one thing I knew that I liked about you from the beginning is I don't remember who our kicker was, but I remember the kicker kind of elected to walk back onto the field to pick his tee up and come back to the sideline, and I guess you had a message for him because I saw him jog back out on the middle of the field and get off the field about as quick as I've ever seen a kicker get off the field. But it told me as a new sheriff in town, as a new day, as a new way of developing an attitude and a culture.
Yeah.
I know that's a small thing,
Yeah.
but it's something I saw the very first game, and I've seen ever since in the way we go about doing things, the way you instruct your team to go about doing things. One thing I'd like you to elaborate on, I think, in building this culture, is 3 important things: hiring your staff, recruiting, and this building a family environment. Can you talk about those 3 things as a foundation toward the culture you're building
Yeah.
here?
First of all, you pointed out a little microcosm, and that's a core value, of getting on and off the field. When I got the job, and I think any new leader, you adapt and change as you go through time, but there's got to be some core values that you hang your hat on. And for me, the message was loud and clear to that team. I knew I didn't have much of a chance to get the job, but from day one, my message was, you can clean your locker out, you don't owe me anything, but if you choose to come to practice for the next 6 weeks, 7 weeks, I'm going to be the head coach. And we're going to do things a little different. And my message was, hey, and I'm all in. I don't have a great chance. And I told them exactly what Terry Don Phillips told me. And so I wanted them to know that I wasn't a guy that was just kind of going through the motions. That I had an opportunity to go compete for this job. And so Terry Don Phillips empowered me to run the program. And so that was my message to the team is, there's going to be some things that we're going to do differently, and here's what it looks like, and there's not going to be any compromise. If you can't do that, then don't come to practice. But if you do, you need to be expected to be held accountable for this, because the little things lead to big things. So often we get so distracted by stuff that doesn't matter. And, for me, at the time, for example, little things like every week it was, what uniforms are we going to wear? Oh, well, we're playing at noon. Oh, it's raining. Oh, I mean, it was just all this stuff. Noise. And all these things that don't matter. Instead of focusing on what does matter, and that's how you prepare, it's how you think, it's how you practice, it's how you serve each other. It's your commitment to the little things. It's your body language. It's the message you send by how you get off the field. It's something as simple as that. Okay, hey, yeah, you shank a punt. Okay, well, let's come back and make the next punt. Nothing we can do about that. But we're not going to put our head down and walk off the field. Let's respond the right way like a champion and everything. You got to be a champion inside before you're going to be a champion on the outside. And that was where I felt like we were at Clemson was, we had this mountain of things that we hadn't done ever or hadn't done in forever. And I'm like, and that's what we were focused on. And that can paralyze you. As opposed to, let's focus on, changing it from the inside out. And let's change how we think. Let's change how we practice. Let's change how we carry ourselves. Let's change our commitment, discipline in the little things. And so that's kind of where it started. And for me, it was creating this attitude of belief that we can. That's where it started. And that's the number one thing that's changed in our program over 8 years is our guys, there's a belief. There's not a hope. They don't just hope to win. They expect to win because they believe in how we prepare.
And the word can't's not.
And the word can't is not. We can. And we're getting told all the time we can't do this at Clemson. We can't do this at Clemson. And my message is, well, why not? Why can't we? And we certainly can if that's going to be how we think. For me, it's about building a culture, because at the end of the day, that's literally what drives everything in the program. Drives everybody's behavior, just the mood, the morale, the discipline. Everything is driven by the culture that you create.
Coach, what I've seen is in your hiring, you may not go after the flavor of the month or whoever the name assistant is. You may not always go out. You may drop off with some 5 stars that'd very much like to come play for Clemson University.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what you're saying too. If you don't fit, it doesn't matter.
You build a culture and you change a culture in my business, and through graduation, through recruiting, through staffing. And whether you're running a football program or a business, it's the same. It's about who you surround yourself with. Okay, and so for me, we set out we created a criteria, things that we believe in, and we have been incredibly disciplined over the years. And as we've built the program, we've even narrowed it even more, because now we have this established culture. And my job every day is to fight for that, to nurture that, to protect that, and I do that through who I hire. I do that through who we recruit. I do that through the discipline. You know, you're always going to have challenges, and young people, especially dealing with 120 young people, somebody's going to do something stupid. Well, that's fine. Again, how do you respond? Because that's going to impact your culture. And so that's my number one focus, and it's the little things. I mean, so when I'm getting ready to make a decision on a coach, I don't ever get distracted by, you know, if I was running this program the way other people wanted me to run the program, probably not the head coach now. You know, I remember when I was hiring an offensive coordinator, I still got some of the letters that people sent me, and everybody was. I had a politician call me and tell me that if I didn't hire a certain coach, then I should be fired. I never forget that voicemail that this guy left me, and because it was this big name coach and great off, and I'm you know, that's, you know, at the end of the day, you have to be convicted in what you believe in. And for me, if I wasn't going to be successful, it wasn't going to be because I tried it somebody else's way. I wanted to be able to look in the mirror and say, hey, it didn't work, and I did what I believed in. And so, you know, I'm looking for certain things when I hire people. I'm looking for character first, because that's ultimately what's going to sustain you. Again, I'm only as good as those I surround myself with, the character and the integrity. Yes, they got to have the aptitude. You know, for example, Tony Elliott, when I hired Tony Elliott, he'd never coached running backs a day in his life. I wasn't worried about that. I said, we can teach you how to coach running backs. You got the skill set, you got the character, the integrity, the work ethic, the heart. You fit the culture. You believe in the philosophy of the program. Because, you know, Robbie Caldwell, for example, he may say it differently than me in his room, but the message is the same. And we have to all be on the same page, and you got to have people that believe in the philosophy of the program. So I'm very careful on who I hire.
Which is no different in our company.
Absolutely.
I mean, that applies to football.
Absolutely.
Business.
And it's the same in recruiting. Sometimes, you know, where people make mistakes is they get distracted by, oh, wow, this guy's got 50 offers. And you know, we watch the tape and we go, I don't see it. But there's a lot of people out there that they'll go ahead and offer him. Well, they don't trust themselves enough, you know, because they're worried about what it's going to look like if they don't offer this guy that's a 5-star, because he's got 50 offers. And then the flip side of that is we look at this guy who's a 2-star, a Grady Jarrett, and an Adam Humphreys. I could go on and on and on of those guys, and we're sitting here going, man, a TJ Green. Golly, we love this guy. He's as good as anybody we've seen. But he's got no offers, or he's got a couple. And now, you know, if you're worried about the outside, you're worried about people saying, well, man, why would they sign that guy? You know, and for us, we've stayed disciplined in our evaluation, in the fit for Clemson, and the fit for the criteria we're looking for. And that's how we've won. Every now and then we get a Deshaun Watson, we get a Sammy Watkins, we get a Dexter Lawrence. Those guys are rare. The majority of our guys are developed, and it starts with their makeup. How Grady Jarrett, I think we beat Buffalo to get Grady Jarrett, but he was a guy that led the state of Georgia in sacks 2 years in a row. He was a heavyweight state wrestling champion. He had a heart that, you know, I could see, and so you know, easy. And now the guy comes in here and helps change this program. Vic Beasley, you know, Adairsville, Georgia, a running back. He never played D-line a day in his life. He just led the NFL in sacks. But, you know, so Ben Boulware. He was on the map, but he wasn't. He didn't have the measurables. Yeah. You know, and so at the end of the day, you know, for me, I'm always like, listen, let's don't just find guys that run fast. Let's get guys that play fast. You still got to be a productive football player, and then I want guys that fit the culture. If you put a square peg in a round hole, it's not going to fit. No matter how hard you try, and that's a lesson I've learned, and eventually everybody learns if you're in any type of leadership role. Sometimes, you get enamored with the measurables of a person, and that can distract you from what should matter most, and that's when you make mistakes. It's really the intangibles that impact and the culture more than anything. That's what makes Deshaun Watson so special. Yeah, he's a great talent, a great skilled player, but it's the things that people don't see. It's his.
He's a winner.
He's a winner. It's how he prepares. It's his character. It's his heart. It's how he loves to practice. I mean, those are the things that you win with
see every day,
every single day. No doubt about it.
Listen, I want to get in, run a little shorter on time, but I do tell you a funny story first. I go to Bojangles usually on Saturday morning and get a biscuit from my wife and I, which you can tell I've had a few too many of lately. But anyway, I pull up there and they got the Cub Scouts up there, and I see this little one boy. I don't know how many cards I bought from him over time, but he sees my stickers and I have my Clemson hat on that day. And this is early February, and he says, "Hey," it sounds like Dennis and Menace, "Hey, mister." I said, "I've already bought one, but I'll buy another one." He said, "No," he said, "I see your Clemson stuff." He said, "Are you going to the grand opening of Dabo Land today?" And I said, "No, I'm just coming to get a biscuit." I said, "Now I'm going over there later this week for signing day, but I don't know when you're going to show up in TripAdvisor, with trying to compete with Disney World and Disneyland. But the Dabo Land is officially on the map. This tickled me to death." But anyway, talking about Dabo Land, this building, this complex, and talking about culture, I've heard you talk about the Paul program a little bit. I know we don't have a lot of time, but can you tell us, to me, what it's saying is you're developing young men on and off the field. I'd like to hear your graduation rates because I know you're very proud of that. But tell us a little about the Paul program. Tell us a little bit what this building stands for in developing the leaders of tomorrow on and off the field.
If you talk to anybody that knows our program, first of all, I think to lead anything, you have to have a vision. And you have to be able to articulate that vision, and everybody has to understand that. And I always tell our guys, they're going to follow the leader first, the vision second. So at the end of the day, this is a relationship-driven program. It's simple as that. I think the relationships lead to results. There's some places that try to be result-driven, and I don't think that will sustain. That's never been my philosophy. I think if you're relationship driven, then you have a chance to have longevity. And for me, the vision of our program it's been this way since '09, from day one. And everybody in this building knows it. We're going to graduate our players. We're going to equip them with the tools for life that they need to be successful. And what are those? How to show up on time, how to win and lose, how to be a great teammate, how to work and pay the price for something and set goals, commitment, sacrifice, just how to handle adversity, get along with somebody you don't like, how to respond. That's what we try to teach them as they go through their Paul journey here. The third thing is we want them to have a great college experience. We want our guys to have some fun. We want our guys to be passionate about Clemson when they leave Clemson. We want our guys to leave here and can't wait to come back. And then the fourth thing is we want them to be a champion. We want them to win a championship. And that's the order, and that's been the focus, and that's been the priority from day one, and we have not varied from that. And it's easy to measure wins and losses. It's not as easy to measure culture. But as I always tell people, when you get around a company that's got a great culture, you can smell it. You see it on the walls. You hear it. That's why I like to go on the road in December and January recruiting, because I love to go to these schools and I can spend 5 minutes at a place and I know exactly what type of culture they're coming from. It's a culture of commitment or it's a culture of compromise. I can tell just like that. And sometimes I go to these places that don't have a whole lot. Schools are kind of bad shape. But, man, there's so much pride in what they have. Sometimes I go to schools, they got a lot, and it's a mess. There's entitlement instead of empowerment. And this is a program of empowerment here. It's the culture that we've established. So it starts with the vision of the program, and being able to articulate that. Young people today, you know, back when I was coming up, it was, hey, go run the bleachers. And you just went and did it. True. Me asked no question. Coach said go run the bleachers. I just went and ran them. Now, the difference in these kids is they'll still do it, but you got to be able to tell them why. And if you can't tell them why, articulate why, then they ain't listening to you. And so that goes back to the relationship. And so for me, the whole philosophy of our program, if you will, the root of it is relationship. And what we say all the time, if you go in our staff room, you'll see, because you'll see a graphic in there, it's a daily reminder. Our philosophy is to serve their heart, not their talent. That's the philosophy of our program, is to serve our players' heart, not their talent. All right? And that's kind of everything else will take care of itself. And so, you know, if you're serving someone's heart, first of all, to serve them, that's a whole different mindset. You know, a lot of times when you're in positions of leadership, you get addicted to power, and you think people are supposed to serve you, and that's where I think companies mess up. They focus on customer satisfaction and making the customers happy, when what they need to be doing is making the employees happy. Inside out. Focus on the employees. Focus on those people. So for me, my focus is on the players. My focus is on the staff. If I do a great job with that, the recruiting will take care of itself. True. The greatest ambassador that you have is your employee. You know, if the employee satisfaction is high, the customer satisfaction is high. I promise you. And so for me, my focus has been to serve my staff, to serve these players. And so as a coaching staff, we talk about it all the time, let's serve, love, and care for our players. And if we do that, we'll create young men that learn how to serve, love, and care for others, and for their communities and their wives and their kids and all that type of stuff. So that's the just, if I could just write one thing, is serve their heart, not their talent. And again, you can't do that if you don't have a relationship with them. And everything to speak to this building, everything in our program is about that. Everything in our program is about what's best for the players. It's not what's best for the coaches. It's not what's best for the fans. It's not what's best for the administration. It's what's best for the players. Period. The end. Now, that's kind of my filter for the decisions that are made. Now, a lot of the things that are best for the players, they don't necessarily like. Now, that's wisdom. All right? But this building was built with vision. This was not a building that was just, hey, let's build a football building. This was a building that was built with purpose, with vision. It was built with love. It was built with heart. It was built with a clear understanding of the Clemson spirit. All right, and it was built to serve these players, and that's just the bottom line. And it's awesome for me, having lived it here for 14 years, and to literally draw something on a piece of paper, and to be able to be here now and to watch our players. And to have an opportunity to see the pride in what they have, and to teach them how to take care of something like this, but to see them have fun.
A few years ago, CJ's out there in the pouring down rain at Pro Day. Yeah. I came over this year, I see, I mean, it's just unbelievable, an indoor facility.
For a long time, Clemson was focused on, let's make sure they got a great fan experience. Yeah. Clemson was, well, why aren't we having great recruiting classes? And what we've done is we've changed that mindset from the inside out. That finally people have bought into, if we will focus on the inside, eventually we will blossom on the outside. And now we have made the commitment to the people here, to the staff here, to the players here, and now that has created a better fan experience. It's created better recruiting, and so forth and so on. And that's that mindset that I think you have to have. And I don't care if it's a football program or running a business. I really, truly believe that.
Let's talk about adversity, Coach. I heard you mention in an interview the other day about how you felt after the Pittsburgh game. I think my dad always said he hated the experience of losing more than he enjoyed winning. I know you've always said the joy is in the winning, but I guess a loss really brings you down. But I think you saw some things that Sunday that kind of inspired you to let you know the world's going to be right again, and we need to stay focused. But you hadn't had much adversity the last couple of years. How did that game and how you got the players going and yourself going again after a tough
Well,
loss?
I think part of maturity in all of us is just, growing up, and we all experience adversity in our life. But maturity means, you expect adversity, and when it comes, you know how to handle it, you know how to respond. And if you have the right type of culture, you can sustain success and weather the adversity. And you need both. If you don't have the right type of character, all right, talent can win, character sustains. If you don't have the right type of character, there's an old saying that adversity doesn't build character, it reveals character. And so that's what I've learned in my life. I always say God never says oops, and we don't always like that. Things happen in life to all of us, and I just have always had peace in it. All right, it's just what I got to deal with right now, and I don't know why, but I got to push through it. And that's just a mindset. If we never had any adversity in our life, if everything was perfect for all of us all the time, would we depend on God? No, of course not. True. We wouldn't. We would depend on ourselves. We got it all figured out. Adversity makes you have to me, it's God's way of making us depend on Him. And life will bring you to your knees. And this is a game. This is a game of football, but it's important, and we're passionate about it. And we work. Anytime you work so hard at something, and you have failure, it hurts. But failure is part of growth. You grow and learn from everything. And so, I remember this year we hadn't lost a home game in almost 3 years, and we were playing Pittsburgh, and it was I knew they were a good football team coming in, but we couldn't stop them. And we had just a couple too many mistakes because we still almost won the game at 630 yards and 42 points, but came up one short. And but I remember it in particular that weekend because for me, my son was going to get baptized at church that Sunday, and so all our family and friends were in, and it was kind of like, okay, we're going to go win the game, and
it's going to be a great week.
It's going to be a great weekend, a great night. Going to have baptism on Sunday, and doggone if we don't lose the game. And I remember getting to the house that night, and my attitude wasn't real good. I was disappointed, and I really didn't feel like being very social. But then I just realized, you know what? Hey, I'm gonna go out there, and I'm gonna just like had we won, I'm gonna go and enjoy the evening. And so I go to church the next day. And like I said, church here in Clemson, so it was a long time since we lost a game. It was like people look at me like nobody wants to talk. Nobody wants to talk to me. It's like and I'm like, hey, it's okay. We're gonna be all right. And but I remember sitting on the front row, which I never do because Clay was getting baptized, and I remember thinking, you know what? God saved the victory for Sunday this weekend instead of Saturday, and we still won. And boy, this was so much. It was just like he just kind of helped me have the right perspective. And then I remember when the service was over, I had a gentleman come up to me and he said, hey, Coach, have you seen your players? And I'm like, no, what are you talking about? I didn't even know what he's talking about. And we must have had 20 players there in the back of the church. They were in a circle having this prayer. And I just went, wow. And I just like, we're going to be just fine. And I told the staff that. And so the next day I had my senior leadership meeting, and I didn't have to say much. All I had to do was just kind of like, just prick the balloon, and all of a sudden it was, they just kind of unloaded, and I walked out of there going, well, let's go back to work. And I knew that we were going to be a tough team to beat the rest of the way. They were very frustrated, disappointed that we had made some of the mistakes that we made, and but you own them, and you respond. You don't pout about it. You respond, and that's what this team did. They went back to work. Stayed focused on what they controlled. You see that picture of that elephant over there. I don't know if you can see that up against the window, but I actually created that in August before the season, and it's our schedule. I put our schedule on that elephant, and with the focus being, hey, we can sit around and focus on what we don't control and look at the whole elephant and the enormity of what we're trying to go accomplish, or we can just take one bite at a time. Just one bite at a time. And so all year long, we kind of ate that elephant away on our Friday night meetings. And then, ironically, it comes down to playing Alabama for all the marbles. But that's what you got to do. You know, it's you live and learn from every aspect. For us, we get a result every week, and we start over. You know, we don't assume anything. We have a plan of preparation that we believe in. We're very disciplined in that, and our guys have bought into that. And that's what we know, that on Friday, when Friday's over, we're prepared and we got a great chance to go win. And, you know, it doesn't mean we're always going to win, but we know that we've got a good shot. There's a lot of things that can affect winning and losing. You know, but that's why I always say we're not defined by a win-loss record. We're not defined by a scoreboard. And a lot of times people don't want to hear that. It's just like the trophy. We're happy to have that trophy in the lobby, but that's never going to define our program. That's never been the goal. That's a byproduct of our goals. You know, that's what can happen. You know, but we may go, you know, 9-3, and man, we had the most committed team we've ever had. And then that's how I measure success. Is how the guys work, how they prepare, how they handle success, how they handle adversity, the morale of the team, and just the commitment to be the best they can be. You know, you can have, again, a lot of things can happen. You can play a better team. You can have some key injuries. You can have some things that affect, you know, it's not a round ball. Don't always bounce perfectly. Crazy things happen. But at the end of the day, it's seeing a group of people come together committed to the task at hand. And then whatever happens, continuing to move forward with the same type of commitment. That's how you have consistency.
Coach, we just have a couple more questions, and appreciate your time again today. One thing I would like to know, you know, we've gone through the culture and leadership. I'd also ask you to give our association some words of wisdom, but I think we've heard about 30 or 40 minutes already. You couldn't have said it any better, and I think everybody in our group will be inspired. The Southern Textile Association Fiber Buyers group will be highly inspired by your words today. Would like you to, since it's Father's Day weekend, you talked about the tough trials and tribulations with your dad. A lot of us are still lucky enough to have our dads around. A lot of families out there hurting on these holidays because they may be going through tough times with not only a dad, but a mother, a brother. You know, your story tells me reconciliation is always possible, to never give up on that hope. And I know your last few years were excellent with your dad, but can you kind of give the group a Father's Day message to hang in there if there are tough times for people?
First of all, I'd say Happy Father's Day to all the fathers that are in the audience. I think that there's nothing greater than being a dad. I think that's the greatest privilege you know, you can have, and is being a father. And so Happy Father's Day. And for me, absolutely. I mean, I encourage everyone. Sometimes, you know, especially as males, you can have strained relationships with a father or whatever. But for me, the last, you know, 15 plus years of my dad's life, it was unbelievable to watch him, the life that he lived and what he was able to experience, the peace that he had, the reconciliation. I had as good a relationship as any son can have with their father. And you know, time has a way of healing. My dad and mom, great friends. You know, it's just amazing. So if God can do that for my family, He can do that in anyone's family, first and foremost. So and then for those of us who've lost our father, you know, and you have a day, you know, where you really reflect, and that's most days for me. I think about my dad and, you know, random things. But somebody told me one time that, you know, we always say, well, you know, sorry you lost your dad, and I'm like, and I'm always mindful to not say that because, you know, he's not lost, he's found. I know right where my dad is, and I can assure you that you know, I know he was at that national championship game. Amen. And one of the most comforting things that someone told me was, hey, listen, your dad, he's still going to be there at all those great moments. And I've had young people who've lost their father, and I tell them the same thing. Hey, he's going to be at your wedding. He's going to be at your graduation. He's going to be right there. He's just in the presence of the Lord looking down. So that's always given me a great peace, and I have felt His presence and His joy, because if you knew my dad, I mean, he took so much joy in watching us compete and watching us win, and I don't have any doubt that he's the biggest Clemson tailgate that there is in heaven every single day, beating that drum. So, and I have truly felt that, and I think that if you really have your eyes on the Lord, God will wink at you. He'll hug you from time to time, and He'll give you those little moments where you just can feel your loved one's presence. So, just happy Father's Day. Hope y'all have great meetings, and all the best.